are in extraordinary times, aren't we? Where things are changing, and despite all of the tragedy that we have been witnessing in so many of our countries, we're seeing great opportunities open up to come together and to overcome these challenges, not just for this season, for this period, but also looking ahead. The nature of leadership as we go into this post-COVID era, and hopefully it will be a post-COVID era with the discovery of new vaccines. But I think regardless of whether we are facing COVID, it's true to say that we are entering an era of great volatility in the world. We've seen that with politics. We obviously have many climate change issues, and we see that with the health issues that are arising. And so this is going to be a period where we're going to need to operate differently. And I think for leaders, and it's as Ting mentioned, a number of you are in your first decade of work after, I guess, university. For leaders now, we need a number of different skills. Some of these skills we've not actually seen enough of in the current pandemic and in the response to the economic and health challenges. So the first one I want to highlight is that of resilience. Actually creating a society, creating economies, creating institutions that are resilient and agile by extension in the face of disaster. Say that we lost our way maybe 10 years ago. We got excited about social media, entertainment, we forgot to continue finishing the job to build a resilient internet that allows us to continue work, especially if the work is physical. So we're going to need leaders who can design organizations, who can run organizations, who can think laterally, but particularly so that we can survive future pandemics, future climate change issues, and not just build organizations where we assume things will never change tomorrow. And that requires a very different kind of leadership. In nature, we learn about resilience. There is no single point of failure. The hierarchies and structures are generally not set up so that if you take out the leader or the prime minister or the president, if they get COVID or if they get caught in a flood, that doesn't shut down the whole system. In many of our natural ecologies, you can take out one part, but the other part continues. Secondly, we need leaders who can listen, partly because of social media and the algorithms that now run our world. We tend to be in conversation with people who are like us. So listening is a very important skill, even if we don't agree with each other in business or even in politics. Finding ways to hear each other's point of view, to understand the point of view, and to try and maintain connection, even if we agree to disagree, is going to be an important skill in the coming world, especially in the geopolitical world that we are now. Finally, I think the ability to build very deep relational networks is going to be the third very important skill in the coming post-COVID age. And so I come back to our brain. Our brain generally can only handle 150 close relationships. And those of you from a Chinese background, especially from mainland China, you understand the power of guangxi, right? But I think in the age of Facebook, in the age of Weibo, social media, we've gotten used to having thousands of friends. It's important to know who our friends really are and who can we really rely on when times are tough, when we need help, not just in business, but in other areas. Who can you trust when times are tough, when you need advice, when you need support, when you need just someone to bounce ideas off? That's an important skill in and of itself in this age, knowing who your friends really are. The amazing thing is that those who have come from an Eastern background, from a Chinese background, this is something that kind of comes naturally, right? Relationships often are more important in our life, our families, than almost any other thing. So we have this skill very naturally. And I think something we can, those of us from Chinese backgrounds and Eastern backgrounds, we can help our friends in the West, where it has been a very individualistic society, to try and learn some of these skills. There are many struggling with suicide, with isolation. You build something together that can be a bridge and a foundation for future collaboration, even across borders, across cultures, time zones, and geopolitical contexts. There are things in Chinese culture that matter: family, caring for the environment, and also that ingenuity to think laterally about problems that is an asset in our culture. So I'm looking for leaders, and I think many of you in the audience have that leadership that comes from our heritage that the world really needs to see, especially in the West. And I think if enough of us can tap into that kind of leadership, we'll be able to rebuild a world that is stronger, greener, and more harmonious.